Hi, today I wanted to talk to you about the best features of an electric vehicle. If you're out there looking at the moment to buy an electric vehicle, it can be hard to know what features out of the many that are presented are really important, particularly because an electric vehicle is nothing like any other car that you've purchased before, so there's no basis of comparison, and that can be a little bit daunting when you're out there shopping around. So having driven my Tesla Model 3 for 6 months now, I got a pretty strong view of what's important and what's a non-negotiable or should be a non-negotiable when you're buying an EV, and I thought I'd share that with you today. So the first thing is, and fundamentally, you want to have a car that allows you to select one-pedal driving. This may be controversial. There's a lot of views on one-pedal driving out there about whether it's important or not. But I can tell you, having driven a car for 6 months, it is very important. And I've been able to drive the car with one-pedal driving, and you can also select other modes in the Tesla where it's not behaving in a one-pedal driving mode. And so I've been able to compare one with the other. But pretty much, if you're driving an EV without one-pedal driving, it's similar to driving an ICE vehicle, the current vehicle that you're probably driving, from a braking perspective. Why is one-pedal driving so important? Well, it gives you the safest and probably the easiest way to brake the vehicle when you're out there driving. Some people get concerned because they say, but I want to be able to coast and freewheel like I do in my ICE car. Technically, you can still coast, if you like, in a EV, because there's a position you can hold your accelerator pedal in where it's neither putting energy into the motors nor taking energy out of the motors, and the effect is the same as coasting in your ICE car. So you can still be doing that while you're driving your EV. But the important thing is that when the traffic conditions change and the car in front of you stops suddenly, all you need to do is just back off that accelerator pedal, and simply with changing the pressure on the toe of your right foot, you activate the braking. And this braking is really sure-footed and smooth. It's applied not with friction brakes, but with magnetic flux in the motors. So there's no heat generated, and it gives you the advantage of recovering energy and putting it back into the battery. And this is intrinsically an anti-lock braking system, so it's impossible to lock up the wheels on the car and get into a skid situation when you're using the one-pedal regen braking. So it's a very safe system. And I would also say, and I've made a video about this, that it's a fantastic braking system if you get into a twisting, winding mountain road. If you like that sort of driving, you can drive very fast, brake very late into corners, blast out of the corner, and then brake late again into the next corner, all without using the brake pedal, which is quite phenomenal. And it just feels so sure-footed on those types of roads. The handling is beautiful. So one-pedal driving, to my mind, is the killer feature in an EV. And if you're shopping around, some manufacturers don't even offer this. In fact, I think BMW doesn't, BYD don't. And I'm not sure about the other manufacturers, but there are quite a few out there that don't even give you the option of driving in a one-pedal mode. So if you're choosing an EV, my strong suggestion would be ask the question, does this car enable one-pedal driving? You may choose other modes where it's not activated, and that's fine. You might start out with those modes while you're getting used to the EV, but at some point you're going to want to turn on that one-pedal driving, and I can tell you for sure, I'll bet you London to a brick, once you've used it, and it takes all of 5 minutes for your brain to adjust to it, you would never go back to the conventional system that you're using now. So that's the one-pedal driving. The next thing is home charging, and home charging is not unique to Tesla. All EVs pretty much offer that. They all come generally with what's called a granny charger, which is just a piece of cable that you plug into the wall outlet and then plug the other end in the car, and it will charge itself overnight. And this is the great thing about an EV, is that charging during a normal working week is so simple because all you're doing is just topping the car up. So you get home, You plug the cable into the wall, it takes all of 3 seconds, and you go back into your house and forget about it until the next day. When you wake up in the morning, you come out to your car, and voila, it's charged up. It's just like you do with your mobile phone overnight. You charge it overnight and it's good to go. So I'm mentioning that because it's a great feature and something that is just so much better than owning an ICE vehicle, because think about it, you never ever have to go near a gas station again to put fuel into your car. No more standing there waiting for the thing to fill up, and no more stinky fingers from the gasoline or diesel or whatever you've got going into your car. So that's a fantastic feature to have. Now the third thing is remote control, the ability to remote control the car, and some manufacturers have this and some don't. Tesla has a particularly good execution of this in the way they've done the mobile phone app. It gives you access to so many different parts of the car, all remotely, so you can be doing this from inside your home or in your office or in a cafe or whatever. And one feature that I really like to have access to is the air conditioning. So what this means is that if I'm sitting in the office and I'm going to leave and it's a hot day, 15 minutes before I walk out of the office, I turn on the air conditioning. By the time I get to my car, it's beautiful and cool, and I have a very comfortable drive home. Conversely, if it's a very cold day outside, you can turn the heating on 15 minutes before you get into the car and have a nice warm cozy car to get into. And there's one other thing you can do there too, is that if I'm driving home and it's a hot day and I need to stop at the supermarket or somewhere to pick up some groceries, I can actually push a button inside the car to leave the air conditioning on while I'm doing the shopping. So when I come back to a car that's the same temperature it was when I got out. And that, again, that's a fantastic feature. So many manufacturers don't have an app. I know BYD doesn't. Some of them have apps that don't really do much, but you want an app that actually enables you to turn on the air conditioning or the heating in the car. That's my advice. Now, the next feature is the travel planner. So it's easy to get stressed out. If you're planning a long trip and you think, well, I've got to drive 600 kilometres today, and I know I'm going to need to stop and charge somewhere on the way, and I've got to work out, well, how far can I get, and where's the nearest charger going to be, and how long will I need to stop there for to charge, and when can I move on to my next destination? And it all sort of feels very difficult. But if you've got a Tesla, it's really, really simple, because you simply get into the car, bring up the navigator on the screen, punch in the location you're going to, and the car does the rest for you. It will work out exactly where you need to stop and for how long you need to stop to take on charge. And when you get to a supercharger, you plug in, and it will tell you when you've taken on board enough energy to move on to your next destination. So this is a really fabulous feature. And one other point too is that sometimes you hear people saying, how long am I going to sit on the side of the road waiting for my car to charge, and it's going to interrupt my trip? Well, I'll tell you what, after 6 months and many long trips, I've never found this to be a problem. In other words, I've never found slow charging to be a problem. In fact, I've found the opposite. My problem is always that I get out of the car, I want to go to the bathroom, I want to buy a cup of coffee and whatever, and before I can get back to the car, it's already charged up and it's sending me a message on my phone to say, hey, I'm ready to go. And it's ready to go before I am. Sometimes I wish it would charge a bit slower. So that's that. And the last thing is acceleration. So you probably know that electric vehicles are quite renowned for their acceleration, and in the case of a Tesla, it's quite blistering. And this is because with electric motors, they have maximum torque at 0 revs. So unlike an ICE vehicle, it has to get up to a certain number of revs before it hits the maximum power band. You get that instant power as soon as you put your foot down on the accelerator. And that can be quite shocking when you first get in one. And often people think, well, why do I really need that? I'm not the kind of person who wants to hoon around in my car, so why do I need to worry about that? But there are so many places where this acceleration can be really useful. It can get you out of trouble in many situations. A couple of ones that come to mind is when you're on the highway and you're trying to pass a big B-double truck on the highway, or maybe it's a convoy of trucks. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like to spend 1 second longer than I have to out alongside those trucks, because sometimes they can sway a bit, and you feel quite exposed when you're belting along a highway beside a truck. So I want to get past those trucks as quickly as I can. And in the Tesla, I've got this access to instant blast of acceleration where I can just put my foot down and get past those trucks before they've even noticed me. And that's just a reassuring feeling. But there are many other places as well, like on slip roads coming onto the freeway, or if you're coming into a roundabout and there's a gap you can just fit into. Having access to that instant torque and acceleration can be really helpful. It can be helpful if someone doesn't notice you and they pull out in front of you or beside you from a slip road or a roundabout, and you just simply need to get out of their way in a hurry. You can do that with this acceleration. So it's a very useful, and I would say actually a safety feature of an electric vehicle. So those are the key features from my perspective that are important to look for when you're shopping. Perhaps there's others, perhaps you can think of others, and if you can, by all means put them in the comments section. But after 6 months of driving my Tesla, these are the things that really stood out to me, and the things that, in my mind, if I was shopping for another car, another EV tomorrow, these would be the non-negotiable items that I would look for in buying an EV. Last comment would be, if the EV that you're driving or test driving feels the same as your ICE car, then it's the wrong EV. Your driving experience in an EV should be radically different to anything you've experienced before. Some EV manufacturers are sort of making these very ordinary EVs that don't take advantage of some of these features I've just spoken about. And you can come away thinking, oh, well, that just felt like, the SUV, Honda or Ford or whatever that I'm driving at the moment. And if that's the experience, then it's probably not a great EV to buy. You should really come away thinking, wow, I've never driven a car like this before, and I understand now, I get it, why people want to drive EVs. So I hope that's been useful information for you, and if it has, give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.